All right, we are live. I'm going to call this meeting to order at 6:02. Ms. Bell, can we get a roll call, please?
You're on mute.
You're muted.
Oh, here we go. Let's try this again.
Okay.
Mr. Ojapinti.
Here.
Mr. Lee.
Here.
Mrs. Ingarrett.
Present.
Ms. Tejada.
Here.
And Ms. Salahuddin.
Here. And our student trustee who made it to the earlier portion of the meeting, Ms. Kleinfeld, is also present. Thank you for joining. All right, I am going to start the meeting off.
Irene Lee as well.
Oh, is Irene here? I'm sorry, and Trustee Lee is also present. We have a much bigger grid than we normally do, so it's hard for me to track everyone. Thank you. Moving on, before we start our getting into honoring Dr. Deloria, we first want to honor one of our students who has had enormous accomplishments this year. So kicking off the meeting, we're going to move into our November 2020 Student of the Month, Aurelia Quirelio. Is that how you say your last name? Excuse me if I mispronounce it. And I will turn.
Sorry, it's Aurelia Quirello.
Quirello. Thank you. Welcome. And I am going to turn it over to Ms. Besuino.
And I am going to pass it over to Trustee Irene. She's going to do all the introductions tonight.
Hi.
Trustee Lee.
So I'm going to start. The Jefferson Union High School District Student of the Month program is designed to recognize the many outstanding achievements within the school and in the community of the students in our district. Selected by their teachers and administrators, the Student of the Month exemplifies the degree of academic achievement, leadership, and community conciseness we would like to see in all of our students. Since only 6 of the roughly 4,300 students in our district received this recognition, being chosen as Student of the Month is quite an honor. Tonight, we will be recognizing the 2020 to 2021 November Student of the Month. Please join me in welcoming Aurelia Quirello, a senior at Westmore High School. Here tonight with Aurelia are her parents, Walter Quirello Sanchez and Monica Quirello. Aurelia is well respected by her peers and the Westmore staff. She is kind, thoughtful, and an advocate for people. Aurelia cares deeply about the activities she is involved with. Her humility and caring nature is evident to all those who know her. Furthermore, Aurelia is positive and a hardworking individual. In the 9th grade, Aurelia competed in the Anaheim Festival 2018 with her Westmore's choir and attended the Point Reyes science trip. In 10th grade, Aurelia joined student government and the Interact Club. She attended the Interact 3-day Rotary Youth Leadership Awards Camp. In 11th grade, Aurelia was in choir, student government, school site council, sex ed squad, Interact Club, service commission, and a tutor at Kumon and a volunteer at Children's Creativity Museum in San Francisco. She competed in the New York Festival with the Westmore Choir in April 2020 and was awarded a large partial scholarship from the Experiment and the Woodlawn Foundation to participate in the Netherlands LGBTQ+ rights and advocacy program that summer. Unfortunately, both were canceled due to the pandemic, but Aurelia is very proud and hopes to visit or travel there when it is safe in the future. This year, Aurelia is ASB president. She is still participating in choir, school site council, sex ed squad, Interact Club, where she is a community service chair, social justice coalition, outreach on the JUHSD Diversify Our Nature chapter, squad leader in service commission, a tutor at Kumon, a volunteer at Children's Creativity Museum in San Francisco. The museum is currently closed due to the pandemic, but she will return as a volunteer once it reopens. And Aurelia has also been instrumental in the content of incoming freshman video. After graduation, Aurelia plans to attend a 4-year university. She shared that she is currently undecided as what university she will attend. The staff at Westmore is confident that she will be successful at whatever she decides. She hopes to pursue psychology and become a psychologist or teacher in the future. Aurelia is destined to make a positive impact in our local and global community. Ladies and gentlemen, the 2020 to 2021 Jefferson Union High High School District November Student of the Month, Aurelia Quirolo. Congratulations.
Congratulations. We have this time, no pressure if you don't want to, but if you want to say anything to the board or to your parents or the class or anything, you can.
Thank you, Irene, and thank you to the Jefferson Union High School District School Board or Board of Education. I'm not really sure on what I want to say. I think I'm proud of my accomplishments, and I'm very honored to be recognized by the board. And then of course I'm thankful for my friends and my school and my family for their support. There's not much I want to say. I think I try to make the most of my 4 years at Westmore, even despite like the pandemic and any other like obstacles throughout the year. And I think if there was anything like I learned over the past 4 years is that it's good to be involved, but it's also really important to take care of your mental health and to do things that you're really passionate about. And so as much as I love everything that I've done and that I am continuing to do, I really encourage like anyone else and myself to remember that it's important to slow down and take care of yourself, and to really pursue things that make you happy, and not just to fulfill things that are expected of you or that that you think you have to do in life. So I hope that moving forward, I'll have just as many opportunities and things to be involved in, but I also just want to take care of myself and, be the best person I can be so that I can give as much of myself as I can, and as much effort as I can into all the things that I do in school and outside of school. Again, thank you for having this, for recognizing me as the Student of the Month for Westmore, and for giving me the time to speak today. Thank you.
Thank you. And if that's what you've learned already, then I am super excited for your future, because that is extremely wise, the lessons that you've learned so far. And it was good for me to hear that. And I think everybody that's on the Zoom to hear that and to remember that self-care is really important. So we are all super proud of your accomplishments. I know that you're meeting a lot of us for the first time, but we are all really invested in your future, and just know that you have a lot of people that you don't know that are rooting and caring for you. So thank you for joining us tonight. All right. We are going to move on to our next item on the agenda, and that is the recognition and honoring of our retiring superintendent, Dr. Terra Deloria. So we have a lot of speakers that are here to speak and a lot of guests. So the way we're going to start this first is we have a video that has been prepared. So we'll play that first, and then we'll get to our speakers. So turning it over to Ms. Hawkins. All right, here we go.
You are professional, intelligent, and so dedicated not only to your staff, but to all of the students our district serves. You have been our leader through very harsh and trying times in our lives, and you've worked tirelessly to make sure that we were all taken care of.
Hey Terry, congratulations on your retirement. Thank you for everything that you've done for our district. You've been in so many places in our district and really helped us get into a place today to where I'm really proud of JUHSD and our standing in the community at large.
Terry has made an impact on me by pushing me to be better at my job. She taught me by providing guidance and sharing her experience. She inspired me in the way that she never shied away from tough conversations and always took responsibility. And she showed me that she believed in me, as she did with many others in the district. I am better for having worked with Terry, and she will be.
Dr. Deloria has made an impact because she has shown how to lead by example. She went into the classroom to teach a math class when the math teacher left mid-year and took care of those students. I've learned much from my time working with her, and I am grateful to Dr. Deloria for her service to the JUHSD community. Thank you.
Dr. Deloria has made an impact by establishing systems that promote college and career for all students, especially the most vulnerable ones. Under her guidance, we started our dual enrollment program, free SAT and PSAT for all students, and free advanced placement exams. She emphasized the importance of building a strong professional learning community so that students advance to and through college and career.
Thank you so much for 3 awesome years of your leadership and just working for you, working with you.
Dr. Deloria has made an impact on how we deal with emergencies in the school district, and her response and her actions have been just stellar, and we'll be forever grateful to her.
Terry has been a tremendous support for student mental health and wellness and has helped really encourage innovation.
All right, I'm having a little problem here with playback. 1 second here. Let's see. Can I hand it over to Jake?
You want me to try and pick up from where it left off?
That might happen.
It's okay, sure. Well, you guys can work that off offline, and while that's being worked out, we'll try it one more time. We'll move on to our speakers that are here. And so I know there's quite a few, and I don't want to miss anyone. So if you're here to speak, can you just raise your hand in the participants, just so I can make sure that I call everyone and not miss anyone, because I don't have a list in front of me. Thank you. And so I am going to start with Alex Walker, who is here from Assemblymember Philteen's office.
Thank you, President Salhoudin. Thank you to all of the trustees. Thank you, Candace, for the invitation to be here tonight. And I'm sorry that Assemblymember Ting couldn't join us. My name is Alex Walker. I'm in the office of State Assemblymember Phil Ting, who represents our JUHSD students in Daly City, Broadmoor, and Colma. And I'm glad to be here tonight because I really want to thank Dr. Deloria, for your service. I had the pleasure of meeting you a few times. I think I remember I met you, I think the first time at your celebration for when you joined the district, I want to say 3 years ago, and a couple times since then. And, you know, really for leading this district through such a unprecedented time, you know, and to understand that, you know, having to, you know, roll with the punches as they are, and while keeping, you know, everybody rowing in the same direction, it's a lot of work. And so we really appreciate all of your service to the district, everything you've done. I'm sorry that we can't be in person to present recognition, but we had sent some on behalf of Assemblymember Ting, and really want to thank you again for all of your service and to wish you the best for the next chapter that you embark upon. Thank you again.
Thank you. And our next speaker is Elmer Martinez from State Senator Jerry Hill's office.
Perfect. Thank you, President Salahuddin, and honorable members of the Board of Trustees. It's been quite an experience since the last time we were all together at the groundbreaking in early January, but it's good to see so many of you again. You know, it's an honor to join you all virtually on behalf of Senator Hill and Assemblymember Kevin Mullin to thank Superintendent Deloria for her leadership and service to the Jefferson Union High School District. And while I wish I could present both certificates to you in person, I did want to provide a quick preview and share the language included in the certificates that are headed your way. And so the certificate reads, "In appreciation of your leadership with the Jefferson Union High School District, capping more than 35 years in public education. During your 3-year tenure as superintendent, you have been recognized for focusing on providing equitable services and working to improve the quality of education for all students. You have been cited as a major contributor to the development of the Jefferson Union High School District's faculty and staff housing project. And During the COVID-19 pandemic, the success of critical efforts such as the emergency daycare and the sewing of over 1,000 masks for teachers, students, and families succeeded with your leadership. Such accomplishments have inspired the confidence and gratitude of our community, and we wish you the best of luck for continued success in your future endeavors. So on behalf of Senator Hill and Assemblymember Mullin, thank you very much for your dedication, Dr. Deloria, and we wish you the best of luck moving forward. Thank you again.
Thank you. And our next speaker will be our County Superintendent of Schools, the amazing Miss Nancy McGee.
Thank you so much, Board President Salahuddin, Board Trustees, District Leaders, and Ms. Casey. I know that you're here representing all of the wonderful teachers in Jefferson Union High School District. So, and also to our law enforcement leaders who are present here. All of us make a community, and it takes a really strong leader to thread all those pieces together. And it's been too short a time, Terry, but in all the time that you've been here, two things that have been really clear to me. Number one, you keep students at the center of every conversation. That's just like not even questionable, and it always comes back to the focus on students. I think your time in the classroom while you were serving as superintendent shows how far you'll go in making sure that students' needs are filled and served. And I think the second thing that you're just amazing at is coalition building. I know that you've really leaned in with your workforce and your employees to keep them right beside you in the conversations that you're having, and to keep them also front and center. Because they are the ones interacting with our students every day. So if there's real impact on students, it's got to be that we're serving our teachers and our employees with honor, dignity, respect, and giving them a place at the table. And I saw you do that. I can't say enough about your leadership during the pandemic. You know that the county Office of Education has been certainly at the center of supporting districts as best we can. But when it became clear to me that we had to create our own anchor document right out of the chute, because it wasn't going to come from anywhere else. I pulled a group of superintendents together, and Terra, you just leaned right in and took charge of that. Contributed in such significant ways. And I have to say that when I talk to my colleagues around the state, the leadership and the cohesiveness in a time of chaos in our county has been elevated because you leaned in, people like you and your superintendent colleagues leaned in and created that pandemic recovery framework that everyone can lean on. And that has stood the test of time, time being speeded up, only 8 months, but a pretty serious test of time that it has held everybody up to focus on what is important to get everybody back to school safely. So I'm really going to miss you. And I know that the district is in good hands with interim or incoming Superintendent Presta. But Terry, your heart, soul, passion, and honestly, your commitment to students is something that is going to leave a big hole in our county.
Thank you. On the phone, we have Daly City Council Member Pam DiGiovanni.
Thank you, Madam President and honorable board members. I'm sorry I can't be there or be even on the Zoom this evening, but I did want to make this opportunity, Dr. Deloria, to wish you the best in your retirement. But at the same time, my heart felt I mean, from the bottom of my heart, and I've actually seen you and spoken to you with your words of your commitment to your district. And when you do your high school district, you always take with the community in mind, with the students and the families and your board, respecting the teachers. And that's a big coalition, and it says a lot about you. It says about you and your leadership style and the workability with your wonderful board. And I've never seen a high school district, and yes, I may be biased, but it's truly workable to where you guys have come with your leadership all the way through to the teachers' housing, breaking ground, to so many obstacles that face our public schools today more than ever. And with the lack of funds, you soldiered on. You soldiered on, and you continue to do so. I, like others, will hardly miss you, but know that you're always in our heart. You left a positive impact in this community and beyond. And with me watching and just being a small part of the outside viewing, but feeling it. I actually feel it through the work that you do and through your board members when I see them everywhere in the community. So that connection is something to really be proud of. So thank you for the opportunity. Wish you the best with your family, your next chapter. Please don't be a stranger. And it's with much love, gratitude, and appreciation that I cannot extend enough heartfelt gratitude. Thank you very much, and thank you, Madam President and Board, for this opportunity to wish someone, Dr. Deloria, the best, and look forward to Ms. Preston. But indeed, you left a positive impact. Thank you very much, Dr. Deloria. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Chief Patrick Hensley.
Thank you, President Salahuddin. I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you, Board, for the opportunity. Terry, it's been great working with you for the last 3 years. I've truly enjoyed the relationship. The fact that you have a very difficult job between managing 5 high schools, a board and policies, and in particular this year with all the COVID challenges that have come your way. And from my perspective, you've been able to maneuver your way through all of that with poise and grace. You've educated me from your many prior years of experience and experience in other school districts, and that's left an impression on me and my staff. I'm looking forward to working with incoming Superintendent Presta, who I know has already reached out to my staff and met with them. And I'm excited that all the foundation that you've laid and all the great work that you've done feels to me like it's got momentum and it's going to keep on going. And from my perspective, all that work you put in will not be lost. We will keep that going. I wish you nothing but the best in retirement and maybe full-time grandma time and wife time. And I think it's great. And if I can ever do anything for you in the future, please don't hesitate to reach out. And again, thank you for the last 3 years.
Thank you. Chief Dan Starnell.
Yes, good evening, Madam President and board members. Thank you for the opportunity and the honor to speak tonight in support of Dr. Deloria, and congratulations on your retirement, Terry. You know, in these unprecedented times that we're in right now, it takes a leader to navigate not just the schools, but all the stakeholders within the community that are required to come together to make our schools safe and to make our schools productive. I remember one of the first things that I thought of you, one of my very first impressions when we first met, was your dedication and your love and your passion as an educator, as well as for your students and your staff and the stakeholders of your community, just shined really brightly for me. It made me realize right off the bat that we were dealing with somebody that was the real deal. This was clearly not just a job for you, but this was a career and something that you have a passion for. As my colleague Chief Hensley said, I did learn a great deal from you. You brought a great deal to the table when you reached out to us initially. You shared your experiences and you shared a vision for what you wanted to see in your relationship with the stakeholders, the community, and law enforcement. And you reached out and asked us what it is that you could do to help us to make our schools safer and to make our schools productive. I wish you the best and whatever it is that you have forward, coming forward in your life, retirement, or anything else that you do. I consider you a great colleague, a great collaborator, and a friend. And congratulations, and thank you very much.
Thank you. Superintendent of, I think it's your school district, Audra Pittman. Oh, there you go.
Hello, everyone. Hi, Dr. Deloria. I just wanted to come and say thank you for joining us in the North County and helping serve the students in the North County. You've been a great addition to our community, and we are sorry to see you go. But we know that you are headed to a wonderful place with your family, and hopefully we'll have an enjoyable retirement. I will echo things that everybody else has all said from the changes and improvements that you've made in Jefferson Union and able to get things to the finish line with your work with the board as a team. And we just thank you for the things that you have given to the North County and to all the communities that Jefferson Union serves. So we wish you the best of luck. Thank you.
Thank you. That is the last person I have for public comment. Is there anyone else that would like to give public comments? Ms. Casey.
Hi, I wasn't sure if I should talk now or later, but I'll do it now. Just so everyone knows, I'm the union president for AFT 1481. We are a union of educators, which includes all the staff in our district. So I just want to say, Terry, congratulations on your retirement. I'm so glad that we had you here to help our district. We moved forward. You showed your passion for the students and for the staff, always thinking of them, students first. Really showed when you were getting together students to be on committees and listening to them. I could see it in your face when you would talk to the students and really hear them, and be on our campuses with our staff. Especially when I saw you say, I'm going to teach math, which as a math teacher, the passion of you teaching math and being with the students every single day that you could, it was wonderful. And I've really enjoyed working with you and moving the relationship between the administration and the union forward. It's been very important. And I think that that's something that's gonna just take off even more so for now and forever. I talk to other presidents and they say, you're lucky that you had that relationship. And so I wanna always foster that relationship. So I thank you for teaching me how to do that. And personally, I will miss you. So I hope we can stay in touch. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Any other public comments? Oh, Melissa Ambrose.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Terry. I just want to say, as the new district wellness coordinator, which is a position that you ushered in, I have profound gratitude for your understanding and desire to promote student well-being. And the focus on that, I think, makes our district really special. And people often ask me why I stay in a district that doesn't pay well. When I could have obviously gone other places, and part of it is because it's so student-centered, and then to really put a focus, but way before COVID, on student well-being, sets us up. And I think we're actually we're not, it's going to be crazy bananas when we come back, but we have really solid resources, and that's just beautiful. I think you and I, whenever we've talked, you care more about the heart than the academics, and and you know that academics will follow if the heart is well tended, and I really appreciate that. And I will also miss you, and I hope that you have fun with your little tiny people in your life. Oxytocin machines, so good for your well-being.
Thank you. Any other public comments? No? Okay, I'm going to turn it over to our board members. Any of our student trustees? I'll start with Ms. Kleinfeld. You would like to speak?
I don't think I have anything to say for now, but thank you so much. Thank you, Ms. President Salahuddin.
No problem. Thank you. And I will turn it over to Trustee Ochapinti.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, everybody, for your appreciation of our superintendent. Terry, Dr. Deloria, obviously, a lot of us have said these things before, but it can never be said too much, our appreciation for what you brought to our district. I feel grateful and honored that you've been here and put in that work. As a trustee here, as somebody from this community, as a teacher, I feel like I've been able to appreciate the work you've done here in a number of ways, and being able to understand what we've needed in our district for a while and then see it happen through your leadership here has meant a lot. I think just bridging a lot of things, and we've had obviously past, present, and current, administrators, and of course all of our faculty, staff, students, parents, and community who've been a part of this district. I mean, you're hearing it today, but I hope it doesn't go unnoticed for those who haven't had a chance to interact with you more. The kind of infrastructure you've built within our district and what that has meant to and what that will continue to mean in our community here throughout North County and San Mateo County, of course. And as we know, through some of the projects you've helped usher in and positions and just some of that structure, really Bay Area wide. And I think helping get this district situated in a place where our work can be appreciated on a greater level. And I think so your work has amplified the work and energy of a lot of people in our community. And, we could say more, but I think I'll leave it to the rest of the board. And of course, thank you again for your leadership and wishing you the best in whatever the next step is. Thank you.
Thank you. Turning it over to Trustee Andy Lee, who I think also has a member from Councilmember Mary Beer.
Yes, thank you, President Salahuddin. I do have some remarks to be shared from Pacifica Councilmember Mary Beer, who couldn't be here tonight since she has a council meeting this evening. Dr. Deloria, what an honor it has been to work with you. I appreciate the light you brought into our district, and I will miss you very much. Thank you for keeping your expectations high and pushing me to look beyond and create something more for our young people. Your vision of wraparound services is going strong with our new partnership with the Daly City Youth Health Center. Thank you for your encouragement and your vision. Be well and enjoy your new journey, Mary Beer. And for me personally, Terry, it's been an honor to be able to work with you. Certainly during my 2 years as board president, I learned a lot from you during that time. And, lots of great memories of the different meetings we've been a part of. Certainly even the times that we've been at the Equity Network together with President Salahuddin, the times at the CSBA conference, especially the one in San Francisco, where I drove you each day to the conference and saw you pick up your McDonald's Diet Coke and 2 sausage patties every morning. And just the different conversations we've had over the past 3 years. Much that I've learned from listening to you in our meetings, much I've learned from just observing you, and also thinking about last year, perhaps one of the other board members will pick up on this later, but to see you bring our student trustees to San Diego for last year's CSBA annual conference, and to see the love you brought with you for these students, and to take them around, and just to see the love that you showed them and the care, which is so evident in the way you take care of all of our students. It was fun to see that microcosm with those student trustees, knowing that what you shared there is really how you serve the more than 4,000 students in our district. So from my heart, thank you so much for all you've done. You've really helped elevate us over these past 3 years. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Garrett.
So I also share the same sentiment with Andy because I was there at the CSBA conference. You were definitely a mother to all of them, and I'm sure they all appreciated it. So for me personally, as a newer school board member, I definitely am grateful and honored for you to kind of guide me and maneuver me with this whole new school board thing. And I appreciate everything, all the talks that we've had, the mentoring that you've done for me. And my personal experience of texting you math problems from Riley's first grade homework and say, well, how do I explain this to my first grade child as a non-math person? So, I mean, that's just one of the many things that, I just appreciate everything you've done for the district. You always put the students first, no matter what you do. I know like your heart is always there and concerned for all students, not just a particular set of students, and always trying to close the gap, within our district. And you will definitely have made a lasting impression on all of us. So thank you. And, I will definitely miss you dearly. So.
Thank you. Trustee Tejada.
Oh, I don't know how many times I almost texted you myself to help Carly with calculus. And, just even telling her, I'm going to text Dr. D. I can't take this anymore. And she said, no, I'll figure it out. I'll figure it out. So, but, Terry, the first time I met you was when we interviewed you. And I still remember you walking across that parking lot. And you had just this biggest smile on your face. You got there early and you gave me this big hug. And, that right away, that joy, and then when we interviewed you, I mean, I was distracted by your incredible dimples, but when we interviewed you, oh my gosh, I was thinking, holy cow, we have to get her. And you've made such a big difference in our district for the last 3 years. And I have grown with you. We have grown with you. You, like everyone else has said here, you've elevated us as a board and you've elevated our district. And your work in the community, I think we're going to be okay. But you're a loss. But you've got those beautiful grandkids, and I'm gonna miss you. I don't know if I can drop by. I know it's not allowed, but maybe from a distance I can wave to you. So, but I just want to thank you so much for everything you've done for us and for me personally in my growth as a human being. Thank you, Terry.
Thank you. So in wrapping up the board, thanks. So I just want to say that as leaders, especially leaders, female leaders, it's really hard sometimes to be vulnerable, to show your vulnerable sides. But I feel like the times when you were vulnerable were the times that you had the greatest impact on the district and the greatest impact on me. And so we're all brought to different parts of our paths at the different times for different reasons. And so I think you came onto JUHSD path with the parts of you that do make you vulnerable, but were the areas that we needed to have the greatest amount of growth and the greatest amount of understanding in our leadership. So knowing what you went through as a child with hunger, and then knowing what we're going through now with our students who are hungry, that we did not have to, it wasn't even a discussion, that we immediately did what we know we need to do as a school district to ensure that even during this really stressful time, none of our students needed to be hungry, whether it was through our food distribution, through our partnership with Pitt at our school district, and through the program that we pulled together for emergency services for our students and their families. Knowing what you went through as a child of being homeless and shelter and care and mental health and wellness, and the struggles that we both share with our own children, pulling together, as Melissa Ambrose said, our mental health and wellness program, and having a counselor and being able to fill that void with somebody in our district office, hearing that feedback all the time from our students that mental health was something that they wanted us to tackle, but we weren't able to actually get to it until you came and really highlighted and talked about how it had impacted your life so that we would all have the courage to move forward with it in our district. And then again, just the amount of care that you have for your students, that I was blown away when you offered, like, I'll just go back into the classroom and teach math class. We're all like, what? But just taking on that challenge and with no fear, that's the thing that I admire about you the most. So I know that you came in, and this was just an extremely challenging 3 years, because you came in at a time when we were in turmoil, and we're still, through COVID-19, we're still in a little bit of crisis. But during your interview, I knew you saw our potential, and that's always been my goal as a board member, to have everybody see how awesome our school district is. And you saw it, and now everybody else sees it. So thank you for everything you've done for us. And I am so happy that you get to spend time with your grandkids and they get to feel everything that you provided for the students up here. We're not that far away. You know, I'm always down there for Disneyland. So don't be a stranger. And with that, I will turn it back over to April and Jake to see if we can end with the video. And then I'll turn it over to you, Dr. Deloria, for closing comments.
All right, thank you everybody for the patience. I believe that we've got this going now. 1 second here.
Are we okay? Is it rolling?
Is nobody else?
Wait, you're on mute. What was that?
Hey, let's try this again. Were you guys not able to see that?
No.
Okay, I think that the best course of action at this point might be for me to post it online.
I think we'll do that. That's okay. The Zoom and technology, it's always our friend. So with that, I am going to turn it over to Dr. Deloria right now. Thank you.
Thank you. And I do have a few things to say, but before I do, I just want to thank everybody who came out tonight to say those kind words. I think some of you were a little overly generous, but that's always good to hear. It means a lot that you showed up tonight, so thank you very much. As you know, I don't like saying goodbye, so I just have a few brief comments. I want you all to know, and by all, I mean students, the staff, certificated and classified, parents, elected officials, community partners, police chiefs, everybody. When I say all, I mean all of you. That serving you as your superintendent these past 3.5 years has been the most extraordinary experience of my career. No superintendent could ask more of her team than what you have given me. Courage, so much compassion and commitment. But I think what I'll miss most are the times that we had fun working together. The times we joked over lunch, talking with colleagues as we walked classrooms, bowling, solving puzzles in the escape room, supervising students at lunchtime. And although I won't be with you as you continue on with your mission of serving all students well, I want you to know you'll be the same. I know you'll be the same dedicated team for Miss Presta as you were for me. I wish you and those that you love good health, laughter, and joy. Moving forward, know that my thoughts and prayers are with you. With much gratitude and affection, Dr. D. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. And so, unless anyone has anything else on this, thank you so much for your service, Dr. Deloria. We are now going to move on to our approval of our agenda for our regular board meeting stuff. Anyone who is here for this portion and doesn't want to hang out all night and talk about JUHSD ins and outs, feel free to leave at this time. We will not take personal offense. Thank you so much for coming out this evening. With that, unless there are any changes, Dr. Deloria, are there any changes to the agenda? Can I get a motion to approve?
Move to approve agenda.
Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. All right. We did not have a closed session today, so I have nothing to report out. Moving on to our board report, starting with our student trustees, Trustee Luca Garcia. Are you able to talk tonight? If you do have a report and you can't speak, you could just put it in the chat and I can read it for you. I'm going to move on to Trustee Irene Lee.
So nothing new has happened for Westmore, but today we had two clubs, What Club and Interact at Westmore. It was a service event where we wrote like electronic thank you cards for teachers as Thanksgiving is coming for their hard work and dedication to educate us during an unusual time of our lives. So every student and every staff and teachers will be receiving a slide with their name on it where teachers could read the letters that students put for them, showing their appreciation and their time. And right there, we're planning to send it over to teachers during the weekend so they could read it during their break. And right now, students are excited for break. Like this week is going really slow for teachers and for students, at least, because teachers are like trying to do their best to get all the work done before break. So we don't have any work. So we don't spend our week on our computers doing homework, so we can have at least that week off. And yeah, I think that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Helene Kleinfeld.
Thank you. I have nothing to report for Terra Nova other than that TNN happened today and their broadcast happened, I think, around 6 o'clock tonight. And yeah, I think that's all that's been happening lately that I know of, at least. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Ochapinti.
Yeah, it has been a busy week, 2 weeks. November always is. And there have been a few things I think, obviously all of us have been watching the news and the elections. On national and international scale, I think we have a lot to look forward to. A lot of changes and hopefully sooner than later in a positive way. So I've been focused on that and really the impact it's had locally here in our state. We know that a lot of propositions may have passed or not passed according to our expectations. So I think those are things to consider in terms of funding to schools in terms of equity and affirmative action, the kind of work that we need to do. And not only the kind of work that needs to be done, but the kind of work that we actually need to, take steps to implement. And so on that note, looking forward to building those conversations and those policies and those relationships with our current and newly elected officials at every level moving into 2021. In addition, there was the California Latino School Board Association Conference, which was held last weekend, this past weekend. And just some of the issues we covered, I think are current issues that we discuss a lot. And I think not just with the pertinence to the Latinx community here in our district, in the Bay Area, but I think even statewide, really, we're seeing a lot of trends and a lot of movement in policy that I think we'll be visiting soon and have been. But a few things I'd like to highlight, of course, in the interest of equity, how we address, the achievement gaps and really in the sense of wellness, and our student trustees and of course student of the month, mentioning some of these things, working on those issues are really important, and listening to our students and families in our community in order to build that. That voice is very important in our community, and I think we should honor that with more and more open forums like these meetings, of course, and town halls and future events to be able to get that input. In addition, a couple of things that were suggested were revisiting community schools, which I know that we've discussed for years. I work at Policita here at CRP in Daly City. And I'm looking at where we build with Jefferson and Thornton along the entire Mission Corridor, and of course, Woodrow Wilson, and a lot of the work we're doing, I think city and county-wide, is in the interest of building those local networks. And I think with the work we've done this summer in terms of meal distribution and supporting our students, it's an opportunity to revisit that and what that means. Thirdly and lastly, I'll just say, one of the major issues, and we're seeing this current movement at the state level, is the implementation of the model draft curriculum, the approval of that for ethnic studies. And so I think that's something we should be revisiting again very soon. There's a lot, of course, changing in terms of policy and education policy, but as our students and faculty and I think community have been, pushing for us as a board, at the point we are now, with everything during COVID, we should be moving in stride with all these things so that our transition into a new normal will create some space for that equity and change in our district, and those conversations to move into the classroom and create policies and classes and education that we can be proud of, I think, empowering the voices in our community. So that's it for me for now, and looking forward to these 2 weeks with Dr. Deloria, and of course with Superintendent, next Superintendent, Tony Presta, coming in to build on these things.
Thank you. Trustee Ingrid.
I don't have too much to report, except that I did have the pleasure of volunteering with President Salahuddin last Friday for the COVID testing, and she taught me how to administer COVID tests, so that was really great. Something new, but on that note, I definitely want to say that I am proud of our district for continuing to put the health of our community first, and making sure that it will be safe for us to return to school when it is safe for us to return to school, to resume the new normal. So, and that, we're relying on science and first and foremost on how we should proceed. So I'm really proud of that, and wishing everyone a happy Thanksgiving next week, and take some time off if you can to be with your family, because this is why we do this job, right? For our families, and we should definitely be thankful and be able to spend some time with them, as hardworking as all of our teachers and staff are, working over there. So, but that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Andy Lee.
Thank you. I don't have a whole lot either, but just wanted to build on what Trustee Garrett was saying. It was, even though I missed her on Friday at the COVID testing, I was there for a little bit, and it was certainly my pleasure to be able to provide food and such for the volunteers there. I would have enjoyed seeing Trustee Garrett wearing the full bunny suit to administer tests. I'm sorry I didn't see that, but it was nice to see President Salahuddin in the said bunny suit as well. So but again, just, you know, given that we're seeing these spikes all across our nation with regards to COVID, you know, just, you know, I would implore all of us in our larger community to just continue to take care of ourselves, to be safe, to not do anything that would endanger any of our loved ones, so that we can, you know, at some point return to some semblance of what will be a new normal, whatever that might be. But it's going to take all of us to do that. So, you know, let's be smart and do the right thing out there. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Tejada.
Hi, I also don't have a whole lot to report. Did attend 2 Student Advisory Council meetings, one last week and one last night, and they are amazing. And they've been, they're finalizing a student distance learning survey that should be distributed after Thanksgiving. And I hope it's as successful as that last survey that they did the first year. And, you know, this Thanksgiving's gonna be pretty tough. I won't be able to be with my dad, even though he's 7 minutes away. But, you know, we got to stay safe. It's just going to be, I'm going to make a full turkey dinner for me and my kids. And there won't be a lot of leftovers because my son he eats a lot. So if you have a son, constantly eating. So I just want to say that I'm grateful for all of you. You know, we've been through a lot together. We've been through so much together, and I'm really grateful for this team that we have. And I know we're going to be okay. Thanks.
Thank you. So for me, it's been a lot of meetings. I feel like I'm doing more meetings now than before COVID started. But I did want to say, and about Prop 15 and Prop 16, those were the 2 that I was most upset about failing. We talk a lot about California being extremely liberal. Not this past election. I'm having a really hard time with the amount of pressure that is being put on school districts to open, but at the same time, not finding the ability to put additional funding measures in place so that we can financially cover being open. So to me, those 2 juxtaposition and being constantly told how important education is to the economy, but not important enough to close a loophole that would have only affected some of the richest companies, some of those companies who are making extreme amount of money off of the COVID-19 pandemic. So we are holding them up, but they cannot support us so that we can continue to hold them up. I'm struggling with that. I'm also struggling with the amount of work that we're doing with equity here in our district and the work that I'm trying to do in the county, and at the same time, watching the state of California loudly and clearly strike down Proposition 16, which we've reinstated affirmative action. Again, I think that the work on equity continues, letting people understand what equity means, that equity doesn't equal equality. And then if we're truly going to be an equitable society, that means some of us have to step back and give things up so that we can let others step forward and fill in places that have long been denied and been held away from certain groups and subsets and ethnicities so that we can catch up. So there's still a lot of work to be done. And I'm trying to stay hopeful in that area. The other thing that I did want to talk about is today we had the 4th highest COVID-19 infection rate that we've had in the San Mateo County since the start. the other part that I'm really struggling with is the pressure on schools to open, but San Mateo County refusing to not minimize or follow suit in other areas where we don't reopen businesses at the level that we continue to reopen. I don't know why we continue to do the same thing and expect different results. Every time we open up restaurants and bars, the infection rate spikes. 1 + 1, it's just, so if you want us to reopen schools, something has to give. What is the priority? I feel with parents when they're like, bars are open and schools aren't. I completely agree with that. They shouldn't be open. We can't do both. The data has shown us that. So we are going to have to make a decision. Again, do we really prioritize education? Or are we just glorified babysitters? So that everybody can get back to work. Because the messages that I'm getting is that they need us to reopen so that we can watch their kids. And that is not the purpose and the role of our district. We are here to educate our students, and that we bear enough responsibility. And if they want us to be the whole, the leg that holds up the economy, then I say they need to start treating us like that. So that is all I have to say here, and I'm turning it over to Dr. Deloria. You're on mute.
Yes, I think Dr. Prest is going to do the report tonight.
Okay. She said no.
Thank you for elevating me to doctor, but not there yet. I actually was I'm not prepared with a report, but I will say that I'm really proud of all of the work that our district is doing, sort of following up on what Trustee Salahuddin is saying. All the work that we are doing in our communities, and working to provide COVID testing at our district office, at Jefferson High School, and really working so that we are in a place that we can bring students back safely, students and staff back safely. I just want to echo the sentiment of others when I say let's all make good choices next week with our families, because we want our families to be there for us after Thanksgiving. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. And I've read with the testing, regardless of what you do, it's good to come get tested. And we are going to have testing at Jefferson tomorrow and Friday from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. and on Saturday from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. So please, especially with the amount of spread that's happening right now, it's more important than ever that everybody get tested. I know there's kind of a mentality like you don't get tested unless you have symptoms. A lot of people don't show symptoms for a while before, and they have caught it, but they don't show symptoms for days and maybe a week before they start to present. It's just important for all of us to get tested consistently in order to stop the spread. So please, if you have a moment, come get tested. It's just a mouth swab. It takes a few minutes, and then it's taking a little longer because the amount of time, but within 2 to 4 days, you'll get the results. So please come out. And now I will turn it over to our AFT 1481 president, Monica Casey.
Thank you. All right, so here I go. So in November, I had 2 Mondays that I had union chats. So this is a new thing, something I've wanted to do since I started. This is my 3rd year, and I finally got it off the ground. There won't be one, obviously there's not one this week just because I'm so busy and packed, but starting next month, it'll be on Tuesdays, which is the union day. And, a lot of different people showed up, and I heard their concerns and I wrote them down, and I'll be sharing it with executive cabinet. And, some really, we've got all the information and all the background knowledge right here in our district. So sometimes people, I said, how come you haven't joined the return to school committee? Oh, I don't know. I just don't feel like that's something that I'm equipped to do. And I'm like, but you've got great ideas. So I think we need multiple places for people to enter. And so this is just one more place for us to get the ideas from our people that have good ideas and know our system and know what to do to make it safe. I participated in the Council of Classified Employees conference this past weekend. It's the California Federation of Teachers, which they are also rebranding their name because CFT, like AFT, is Federation of Teachers, even though we represent other staff, nurses, bus drivers, custodians, office staff. So two other members joined me in that conference, and I will be sharing some of that information about the reopening suggestions from that conference. At the San Mateo Central Labor Council, which we are a part of, I kind of thought, like this, if I don't report to them, they don't know what's happening. And I feel like President Salahuddin has mentioned, for Prop 16, and I think some of the other propositions that, the other unions don't really know what we're doing. They don't really know what we need. They need to hear it from our voices and not guess. Because, you've got unions of carpenters, unions of plumbers, and they have their own ideas of what's going on in the schools. So I'm like, I got to start talking to them and let them hear what we need in our school districts. We should be joined together. So if you have anything you want me to report out to them, just let me know. And I'm going to start doing that more regularly. So some of our staff, I see Melissa's here, which Melissa is also, we are doing some training. It's mostly wellness counselors, but not only. It's called the Community Resilience Model. And the point of this model is to bring powerful coping and wellness skills to our district staff and to our students. The Arella is our student of the month, had mentioned wellness, and I want to tell her, I know she's not on the call anymore, but we're moving and shaking to try to bring wellness to everyone, more wellness. I know we've already done a great job, but we need to do more and more and more. And that's most important. And you've heard me say it over and over again. That is more important than our curriculums, because if you're not well and not feeling it, how is your curriculum going to be impactful at all? So we're doing some work there, and we will be bringing it back to the district, which is really exciting. I think it's really good. And then the last thing I'm going to say before when I talk about the return to school later is the CFT is, I just got an email. The headline is CFT urges school districts to return to or stay in distance learning as COVID cases surge in California. We just became red. Almost all of the districts, not districts, counties around us are purple again. So, it's just not safe. Adults are still Zooming. All the plans for conventions, all the plans for trainings are all for adults are in Zoom right now for the whole semester, next semester. And I will talk about this more when we talk about return to school. So I will say a few more things then, but I really appreciate you listening. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, moving on to our consent agenda. Unless there's anything anyone wants to pull, can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Fantastic. Moving on to public comments. I do not believe we have any public comment cards on things that are not on the agenda, correct, Ms. McGarrett?
We do have public comment one item on 10.A.2.
Okay, great. So we'll wait till we get to that item. Thank you.
Yes, yes.
So the next item on the agenda is education services, student mental health and distance learning in fall 2020. And I will turn that over to Melissa Ambrose. Ms. Ambrose, or is Dr. Deloria doing the intro? No, Ms. Ambrose. Turning it over to you.
Hi, everybody. Happy to be here and happy to be here on, I think, is it your last board meeting, Terry? Yeah, so kind of bittersweet, yeah. So I was asked to give you guys kind of just like an update, a status update about the state of mental health, I guess, in fall of 2022. So let me share my screen. I'm just so you guys know, I'm not Corinne Baca when it comes to Google Slides or anything pretty. So I just want to say that is not my skill.
It's okay, no one is, no one is.
I know, it's true. I wish I was. And I refuse to ask her for help because she's so busy. So, so can everyone see this? Yeah, you can see the screen? Okay, cool.
Yes, we can.
So, okay, I'll just go through the slides and then, how do I advance them? Oh, there we go. Sorry. Okay, so I think what's important is to talk about the highlights. We've been as creative as possible. We are not alone in this. One of the best things about my position is that I get to collaborate with other people in other districts. And so there's just like a constant conversation happening around, you know, what we can do and like what other people are doing. And there's a lot of sharing of resources. So I feel really grateful about that. I think that's one of the beautiful things about San Mateo County. And I know Nancy McGee is gone, but like, I think her safe and supportive schools department that Mary McGrath and Janae Luttrell oversee it's just instrumental in supporting mental health and wellness throughout the county. So we have a super wonderful wellness staff. And we've grown, I think, as you guys know. So we have at Jefferson now 2 bilingual Spanish speakers who are the wellness staff. And when I say wellness staff, I want you guys to know that I include the position that's called school social worker, which is a slightly different position, but we all meet together as a group. So at Jefferson, there's 2 bilingual Spanish speakers and 1 who speaks conversational Portuguese. At this very moment, they are doing a parent presentation information night with the Daly City Community Services Center. And I texted them and they have 55 families participating. So, and they're providing translation in Portuguese and in Spanish. So we have a whole slew of wellness interns. I worked really hard to get a full wellness intern program this year, 1 at every single school. So these are master's level interns, either in social work or in marriage family therapy or in clinical counseling. So we have 1 wellness counselor for each school, and then we have 5 clinical psychology interns. So these are PhD level folks that are either getting their PhD in psychology or becoming a clinical psychologist, which is more of a practicing mental health person, and 1 at each school. So we just have robust services because we were super excited to just like really have a lot of services at the schools, and then COVID happened. So we'll talk about that in a second. We have the Daly City Youth Health Center is doing really well under the guidance of Jonathan Portney. And then he brought in Anya Shapiro to be the mental health, I think her position is called director now. And she has, there are 6 interns there. Some of them are bilingual. I know 1 is Spanish, English, 2 or 3 of them are actually Spanish, English, and there may be other languages represented. So they're serving a whole bunch. They're not in the schools right now, mostly because we didn't have enough students to give them, but they're at the clinic and they're, I think, operating fairly full capacity. One of the things that wellness and the interns are doing is having these parent presentation nights on Zoom that we're just doing our 2nd one and we have more planned. So, and we're doing them in conjunction this year with Jefferson Elementary. And so that collaboration has been a really beautiful and supportive collaboration. And I think it's nice for the parents who have kids in both districts not to have to go to multiple things. And we're going to do one coming up in conjunction with Pacifica School District with the Pacifica Resource Center. And then we're getting really creative, like how are we going to get to our students? This is the hardest part that's happening for us. So we are texting students, we're voice phone calling with students, we're Zooming students, we're using not our own cell phone numbers, we're using Google Voice. We've been given permission by the Board of Behavioral Sciences. All mental health practitioners in the state of California have had our confidentiality boundaries loosened. That doesn't mean we can share information freely. It means the platforms that we're allowed to use that weren't totally airtight, HIPAA compliant in the past have been sort of loosened during COVID. So we're trying to get to kids, you know, as much as we can. So we're being as creative as we can. Oh, and I didn't put this on there, but some of the wellness staff, this is way beyond me, also have wellness Instagrams. I don't know what, wellness Instagram. I don't know if it's a plural thing, but they shoot out wellness stuff to kids that, and the other ones that don't have their own Instagram, they use the ASB Instagrams to send out wellness information. So, and then we're relying pretty heavily on additional sort of outside resources. So I don't know if you all remember approving an MOU with this organization called Atlas. So we have this Atlas app that's free for all students in our district. It was made by a couple Stanford graduates, and it's a student mental wellness app, and it's shooting up to the top. Like, of course, in COVID, it's now super popular, and it's been highly rated by Common Sense Media as one of their approved apps. And it's basically a student journaling app, and they also have student podcasts. So you can go on and you can select sleep, and then you can listen to all these sleep resources, and they have guided mindfulness for sleep, and they have podcasts. And so also the wellness counselors can manipulate what the kids see first when they open the app. So they can go and look at a dashboard that's unique for each school and see like, oh, what are kids looking at this week? They're looking at sleep. And so then they can put sleep stuff at the top of the list. Or if the health teachers were to say to wellness, we're going to do a whole thing on drugs and alcohol, they can put harm reduction or drugs and alcohol or like healthy ways to self-soothe at the top of the list so that when kids open the app, they see those resources. So that's pretty cool. We're all using Care Solace now, which is we are getting through the Mental Health Services Act grant, which is a mental health referral service. So when we are talking to a student or a family and they say, oh, we think maybe therapy is needed, or the kid says it or the family says it, we can send them to Care Solace, and Care Solace does all the awful work of calling around and finding a therapist with an open slot that fits that insurance, that has the kinds of identity preferences that the family has. It's a lot of work that the wellness counselors used to do, like hours and hours of work trying to help families find good therapy. And this service is also available to all staff and the family members of our staff, all students and the family members of our students. So it's actually pretty comprehensive. And I have a slide coming up about the usage so far. We have more work to do to promote it. Monica let you know that we're all being trained in the CRIM model, Community Resilience Model. It's a beautiful, simple model that is that's about trauma-informed practices, but really about resiliency practices. Very simple ones. In fact, why don't we all do one right now? Because we've been on this meeting for a while. So everybody, if you have your cell phone with you, I know this is a weird thing for a wellness counselor to say, I would like you to open your phone, open your pictures, your photos, and find a photo of someone or something. So it could be a place out, it could be a physical place that just makes you smile. Just do that real quick. And look at it for 10 seconds. Just look at a photo of someone or something that makes you smile. Okay, so I'm seeing a bunch of smiling faces, which is really sweet. Okay, so we can go back. That's just a super quick. So that was called resourcing. And that's one of the things that we're being taught to do, very quick and simple things. And we're all going to be able to go train staff, train students, and we can do it in small ways. It doesn't have to be a big, giant, like 2-hour PD. It's a very wonderful model that has bite-sized pieces that are very accessible. And then we've brought in Matt Redham from Butte County Department of Ed. He's an extraordinary expert on trauma and just a wonderfully decent, huge-hearted human being. We had a whole district-wide trauma training for all staff. And then he's going to come back and do smaller sort of question and answer and work, like I think we decided groups of 50. He's going to do 5 more sets of like sort of just talking to staff, share out breakout rooms. He and I are planning those, and we'll have one hopefully before winter break. And then like I said, we're really developing strong relationships with Jefferson Elementary, and I'll work on one with Pacifica also. So here's Care Solace data. What I'll say about that right now is that we're not using it to the degree that nothing is happening in wellness to the degree that it was happening when we were in person. So the most important thing that I want to say is that if we were in person school, our interns would have 0 space. Kids would be knocking at the door of all levels of interns. We would have asked Daly City Youth Health Center to put their folks in our schools for a couple hours each week at each school. They would have been full. And we would have the most robust wellness services we've ever had in this district. And we would be full and overflowing. And Care Solace would be, the greatest thing in the world. But we are not, the kids, as you guys, I think know, are not, they're not in spaces where they can talk to counselors in a way that is safe and comfortable to them. Many of our students do not have any alone time. Many of our students do not have any sound-free space. Many of our students are not ever alone anymore. And many of our students are feeling shy and embarrassed about their living situation. And many of them are, I think what's happening to their nervous systems is one of the responses to distress is fight, flight, freeze, faint. I think a lot of us are in freeze, just like kind of numbing out. And so they're not reaching out. We're reaching out to them intensively, but it's not the numbers and the degree that we would have had at this time last year if we were in person. But that's not to say that there's for no effort or no need. It's just like this horrible convergence of this situation of everybody being stuck at home. So if you see up here, these are all the cases. You can see that they've received 228 inquiries. Care Solace has done over 1,500 communications. They've only done 24 warm handoffs. So what that means is that they've worked with 24 cases back and forth around therapy. And of those 24, 7 went to their first appointment. So it's not the kind of numbers I would have liked to see at this time, but it's definitely better than nothing. And then it's broken out there over the middle one is student and their families, and then staff and their families. So you can see, though, I was quite happy to see that our staff are using it. That makes me feel good because I think sometimes staff feel a little bit lost. And we do have the employee assistance program, but I think this is a wonderful second option. And also they'll navigate Kaiser for people, especially Kaiser's contract with outside providers. So I think we have more to do with Care Solace, more promotion to do, but I think it's still a wonderful thing. And what's really cool right now is that the Mental Health Services Act grant is paying for it. And it's also really reasonable even if we were paying for it. So that's Care Solace data. And here's just some pretty stuff I pulled off their website about what people are looking for. And so I thought you guys might be interested in sort of the demographic data. I see, anxiety and depression are the top 2. The mental health concerns, people could have selected more than one thing, so it's not going to add up to 100%. But anxiety and depression are always what students come to us about, almost always. And then you can see the ethnicity breakdown, the gender breakdown, and then the age breakdown. So unless you guys have questions about this slide, I can move along because it's just basic data. Yeah, great. And then as far as our wellness stuff, I struggle with synergy queries, just to let you all know. It's a difficult platform. And so I did not compare our numbers to this time last year. So I pulled numbers. The wellness counselors do monthly wellness reporting. And this is what we have for this year. So we've had 464 direct student contact or sessions. We have 50 students right now attending groups. 64 students are being seen by interns, which is not bad. We just record how many contacts we've had. So, and this isn't, I don't think all the wellness counselors reported their numbers on time. So you can just kind of see that they're working really hard at reaching out. What I will sort of note is the bottom information here, which is that at this time, like if we were comparing this time to last year, we would have had more than 5 police reports. We would have had more than 5 CSF reports, which is formerly known as Child Protective Services. We don't very often get adult protective services reports. That's a very unusual thing that happens, but it happens sometimes. But what I will say is that by the time those reports are happening, because I'm consulting with wellness counselors, the situations are more extreme than they've been in the past. So by the time we get a student who is telling us something is not right in their home, it's kind of, it's alarming in a way that is shaking even the wellness counselors up. And that many of those reports, several of those reports are multiple reports. So you get a kid where you're making a child protective services report, you're also making a police report, which means there's a different issue going on. And you might also be making an adult protective services report. So we're having the situations that the kids are in, and it feels to me like what's happening is they're waiting until things become absolutely unbearable. And by that time, the family's in pretty extreme crisis. And I think crises, as you guys all know, are being exponentially exacerbated by everybody being trapped at home together, or people having to go out and be essential workers and being exposed, or by people losing their jobs, or by people being concerned about financial stability and food and housing. So things that were already impacting our community much more severely so. Here's our suicide assessment data. So we've done 24 suicide assessments. All of this is done in the really awkward world of being online or on the phone. And I broke it out by gender and grade. Always, just so you guys know, always we're doing more assessments on 9th graders. That is just the age. It's what's happening in the transition from middle school to high school. It is definitely a time where you question naturally your existence on the planet. And so it's not abnormal to see that. And I think our seniors are really struggling with their view of the future. So why you see the 7 seniors there. I think they're not feeling very hopeful about what's coming next. What's interesting about the suicide assessment that we're seeing very differently is that it's less self-referred than adults referring. So parents and guardians are calling us now, which is we're really grateful for. And in fact, sometimes they're calling us and saying my child's hospitalized, like we took our kid. So that's kind of a new thing that we're seeing. Usually we're initiating an assessment, and then we don't initiate a hospitalization, but we initiate an assessment. So that's where we are with that. So here's our concerns. Our suicide assessments are down between 1/2 to 2/3. So last year at this time we had 67. So Terry, I don't do math, so I was guesstimating there, which is a bummer, right? Because I don't think it means that students aren't feeling despair. I think it's our lack of access to students. We're having a really hard time engaging students, so they're missing sessions all the time. And then a lot of them refuse to go on camera, which is totally understandable. But then it's hard for us to do, so much of the therapeutic work is done by seeing people's faces. There's a lot of biology behind that and science, and we can't having a really hard time assessing kids. So if you're just talking to a student, you can't, it's just hard to read what's really going on. We're worried. I mentioned this, that the stress is compounding, and so some of the cases are extreme. And then another thing I'm really quite concerned about is that the level of stress that the wellness counselors are under. feeling responsible for the well-being of their students and their families. And then some of them have little people at home, and yeah, they're just stressed. Just same with our teachers. There's like, I don't know if you guys are aware of the sort of the difference between acute stress and chronic stress, but the human body is more designed to manage acute stress. So short, intense periods of stress we can do. Chronic stress, long, drawn out, difficult things are really hard for the human body biologically to navigate, and people are on what I call chronicity overload. So the chronicity, the chronicness of COVID, the chronicness of this particular election stress, and then the chronicness of climate catastrophe that's hitting California particularly, has just been exhausting. And then the chronicness of economic distress, right, as a result of COVID and just a result of living in this capitalist system. So I'm worried. I feel I have felt less resourced and more distressed in the last 2 months, I think, than I've ever felt. It's been years anyways. So, and I do, as you guys all know, like a lot to take care of myself. So, and I think the wellness counselors were really missing the kids. Like, we're really missing the thing that feeds us, that helps us do this hearing hard stuff all the time. It's just seeing their beautiful faces and their resiliency and their creativity and like the love, like that just exists when we're all at school together, and that's hard. We're worried about them, and we don't like how few eyes are on the kids. So teachers, they're not putting their cameras on in class. So like, we're just missing a lot that's really going on. We're not seeing what's happening, and we're worried about our families. People are really worried about getting back to one-on-one sessions. So some of the wellness counselors are like, let's go, I'm ready. Let me go work in a classroom. All I want to do is see kids. And some of the wellness counselors are like, I'm really afraid to go back. I don't want to get COVID. Or what am I going to do with my kid? So we're in different places with that, but people, it's causing concern. And then everybody, including you guys, we're worried about what they're going to bring when they come back. And like social anxiety, you know, the impact of being at home for so long, how much screen time they've been having, like how their bodies are storing this trauma and this stress, how their parents' bodies are storing the trauma and stress, and on and on. So I think a lot of us are actually really grateful for the training that we've just been through, because the tools and the skills are so simple and so easy to use. And it's not, you don't have to have a whole session to share these tools and skills. I think that's my last slide. That's it. I mean, I could go on and on and on, but I don't think you guys want me to. And I'm totally available for questions. And in a future presentation, if you want me to compare numbers, I can. I probably need to really work with someone in IT to help me pull the reports more effectively, so that they're meaningful. I think that's all.
Thank you for opening it up to the board for questions and comments, especially looking at our student trustees. I know we had a really good conversation about this topic last night, so if there's anything you guys want to share.
Is it okay if I share?
Yes, please.
Okay. I guess as a student, I guess maybe not as a student trustee, I haven't really heard a lot about any of these resources. I know that I guess they're guidance counselors. They came in to at least my English class, and they didn't mention anything about CareSOLAS or the Atlas app, or if they did, it was very brief. So it was kind of nice to hear about it now. I know I'm definitely gonna plan on downloading it after this meeting. So when you talked about student engagement, I think it could be just students just didn't know about it, because I know it's hard for me to find out what's happening at school right now. I mean, when I was in person, I'd always know what was going on, but I guess now I think the communication between school and students is just a little bit fuzzy. Yeah.
I'm really glad you brought that up, Helene. Am I pronouncing your name correctly?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So I would love to know, so I have sent emails out to every student multiple times, but I think you guys are just inundated and buried by emails. And I don't think you're really the email culture. I think adults are email culture. And then, so like, how best could we let you know about all the services? Like, would you like the wellness counselors to pop in and out of classes? Like, what would be a format that would work?
I know for me, I always liked it when teacher, or I guess wellness counselors, would pop in and tell us about things. That way all the students would know about it at once. I know especially for me, with my emails, I'm a senior, so I'm getting overloaded with emails from colleges and a ton of other things right now, especially on my personal account. And now they're contacting me through my school account too. So at any moment, I'll be getting emails from colleges. But yeah, I think definitely popping into classrooms, and I know a lot of students use Instagram.
Are you on the Terra Nova Wellness Instagram?
I don't think so, but I know a lot of students are on the Terra Nova Pride account. So
okay, so that would be a good way to go. The Pride account, is that through that? Okay, I'm going to bring all this back to the wellness group.
So
thank
Luca
you.
Garcia, who is another one of our student trustees, but doesn't have the ability to talk, put in the chat. He wants to have teachers suggested in meetings at the end or the beginning of class.
Okay, we are going to have a whole Atlas app rollout. I know that sounds like such corporate lingo, but so we're planning that right now, and Atlas is wonderful because they give us all the resources. So for the students, each school is going to pick like which classes. Likely it'll go through English because almost all students take English, and there'll be like a 5-minute little video, and it'll be like, take out your phone and you guys can put the app on. But I do think it's important. I do think, like Helene and Luca and Irene, do you guys know how to make an appointment with a wellness counselor? Like, is that at least clear right now?
I believe through Terra Nova, I think you either email it or you have to use a certain sign up genius. At least that's what I've been doing with the guidance counselors in the College and Career Center. So that's what I know for now.
And for Westmore, I think we have like a Google form where we fill it out and the wellness counselor contacts us whenever we want, whenever they have time.
Okay, perfect. And I'm working with April Hawkins to make, I mean, you guys don't really use websites either, do you? Not like going to the JUHSD website and typing in wellness and looking at all the resources we put up there, are you?
Yeah, no, I don't really check the Terra Nova website. I think the only time I really do is just to see the calendar, and then I scroll down and then I look at the schedule, especially I think on like Wednesdays, or if it's the one time we have the Monday off and then the schedule's all weird. That's, I guess, the only time I use the website.
Yeah, so you guys are just experiencing this beautiful moment, this difficult and painful moment of like, how do we get ourselves out there? And then me being the wellness coordinator, just so y'all know, I'm technologically not super skilled. I've never had any form of social media besides LinkedIn. And so for me to be the one coming up with ideas doesn't work. Luckily, a bunch of the wellness counselors are younger than me and they have ideas, but it's a little hard.
The Student Advisory Committee has a social media group, so you may want to utilize them as well. Luca he's never made an appointment, but he believes that you have to contact your counselor at Jefferson. That's what he's saying, for contacting the wellness counselor. And and then the students, the adults are saying TikTok. Are you guys on TikTok?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
There you go.
Like, so we make a TikTok wellness thingy? Someone will teach me. This is not the moment for you guys to explain this to me.
Yeah, so we'll see,
is just
connect you with the social media team, because I know they're really looking for things to do, and this would be a great project for them, I think. So we can talk.
I would love that. Yeah.
Fantastic.
And student reps, please spread the word to your friends. Like, please let people know that there are resources and that there's support, and we care a huge amount and we want to be here for them. And like, we even have wellness counselors that are just doing text appointments with kids, right? At first I was like, no, it's not enough like human contact, but that is truly what students can do right now, where they feel safe, meaning not that they're in danger, but like no one will read it, right? Or hear them or see them. And so we'll do whatever it takes to get to students right now. And we have capacity. So please let people know that we're available.
Okay, fantastic. Now I'm opening it up to our adult trustees for any comments, questions?
I'm looking at the chat where Lucas said, if they don't take the advice or reference, would I take it into my own hands to listen or talk to them?
Luca, I love that question. I think friends are wonderful, and I think about the friends in my life, you know, that have been there for me and talked to me. So I think the answer is yes, and you have to know what your own boundaries and limits are. So like, I don't want students to take on too much because we all have a lot right now. And so really thinking about like, are you the only resource this other person has? That might be too much for you. And if there's a safety issue, meaning if ever a young person is talking about seriously harming themselves, like suicide or being seriously harmed by someone, I think that I would prefer or love it if you would go to a wellness counselor and you could talk to a wellness counselor about your friend and get support and see if they could support your friend. Yeah. I mean, these are hard times, so compassionate listening is a true gift.
Thank you for the question, Luca. So if I am going to now turn it over to the adult trustees, if that's okay with my other trustees. I think Ms. Garrett had her hand up, and then I don't know who else.
I just want to make a couple of comments. You know, that was like, you are so thorough, Melissa. I appreciate you. You know, I know we worked together at the Daily Youth Health Center, you know, committee, and I'm so thankful for you that you're always concerned about the students and you have such a big commitment for them. And I also love that you are listening to the students as well and being engaged, you know, so we can reach as many students with regards to their mental health as possible. And I think it's really important, especially during this time. And as you know, when some of us, you know, even adults can get lost, you know, just being at home and not being able to talk to somebody. So again, I'm really grateful for you and really just pushing forward. So thank you so much, Melissa.
Thank you. Trustee Ojapinti?
Yeah, thank you. Yes, thank you, Ms. Ambrose, for that. I think there's a few things that come to mind. People have already kind of said them. When we're seeing numbers like this, we wonder what numbers we're not seeing, right? And what may look better this year than last year might be just a reflection of the fact that we are distant. And even with social distancing, the physical distancing in terms of our work, whether it's in wellness or, you know, in assessing students, academics, whatever it is, it's going to prove to be a challenge for us. But, you know, seeing some of those numbers of those, you know, who've experienced more severe just struggles right now. We know that, you know, with COVID numbers surging too, there's a lot of concern in terms of, you know, no matter what people are doing, whether it's going out for shopping or having to work, you know, support their families, or just being able to go outside. I think that peer support and our student trustees, Luca raises a very important point, and I think our student trustees are very aware of this. You know, friends are there for friends, right? That's what friends are for, but there are limits to the amount of support we can offer each other at times. So I just want to kind of maybe ask the question too, and I know that President Salahuddin mentioned this as well. Some people working on social media, maybe some of the interns, people working with wellness right now. I think one of the things I've noticed is that a lot of wellness I'm seeing amongst peers and even former students is going around through the internet. You know, on Instagram, there are a lot of very mindful, you know, in terms of mindfulness and wellness, there are a lot of really positive posts in media, but there's a lot of negative media too. So navigating that can be very hard and overwhelming, especially when we're asking students to do distant learning. So just kind of elevating that suggestion in terms of, you know, focusing on social media and those who have experience around social media, and creating some of that bridging with our counselors, maybe in terms of our peer counselors, peer support classes. I know there are some. And maybe wherever people think are good ideas for that. I think that'll be a great place to expand upon right now, especially going into the winter.
Thank you. Any other comments from our Ms. Dada?
Thank you so much, Melissa. I love your energy, and also just to a really small example. You brought us, you engaged us with taking out our phones, and it really showed us, even just the small tricks you can do. Because I know that I've been able to work from home since March, but there are days I will wake up and I'm so stressed out. I'm so stressed. And then there are moments where I'll just sit there and I think, wow, this is a really good day. I feel good. I actually feel good right now. And I don't know how long that lasts, but, and I can't imagine, the amount of stress that our staff, our students are under, the suicide assessment I'm sorry, the fan on my laptop's going nuts right now, but the suicide assessment slide was really an eye-opener, and that you said it's low. That's even scarier. But I'm so glad that I'm amazed that we have all those wellness interns, and I would like to make sure they're utilized. And I'm glad that our staff is turning, to get resources. But, this is really everything that you present is such an eye opener. And it just shows the gravity of the situation we're in, and that we've got more months left, to try to reach these students and to keep our teachers and staff healthy, our wellness counselors. That kind of stress, I can't even imagine what they must be going through as well. As for me, I think adults have to be careful with TikTok. Leave that to the young kids. You want to do it right. So, but yeah, we really have to try to reach more. But I really, really appreciate you bringing this to us. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Lee?
Ms. Ambrose, thank you so much for this very comprehensive, and it's nice to actually see all the data just related to who our staff are in one place. So it's easy with everything that's going on, at least for somebody like me, to just not realize exactly who we have available for all of our mental health resources. So it's great to see that this to see the full staffing and all the additional resources. And I think this is a really great starting point, when we start talking about, future report outs where you'll have some comparative data. So I'm grateful for this presentation. It's very helpful, and it's a wonderful starting point. So thank you so much for taking the time to prepare this for us.
So this is the area where I struggle the most with staying closed, is the mental health portion. And are we doing irreparable damage to some of our students by continuing to stay closed? And so I wonder if there's things that we can do safely on campus that would still keep people apart. Like, I know that talking at home is hard, but can we open up a classroom for a student to come to a class or to a school? So that doesn't mean that they have to be in the same room. Maybe, maybe the counselor is on site too, so you could just see that they've arrived for their appointment, but then you go into 2 separate rooms and it's still in Zoom. Are there other things that we can do where it's still safe, but we remove the student from that environment? I think even getting a respite from the environment is nice. I mean, I'm talking to you right now from a hotel room. One, because they keep doing construction. It's just a never ending construction on my apartment. But 2, just get a change of walls. Like mentally, just changing my walls is huge. And I didn't realize how much I relied on being able to take road trips and traveling for my mental health. So are there things that we can do like that that would still be really safe and wouldn't cause someone to catch, be in the same room and a potential of spread, but utilizes the space that we have because we have a lot of open classrooms? You could even possibly do group sessions that way, where, because we have a lot of open classrooms if we had them in different rooms and just all on the Zoom at the same time, or etc. I mean, these are just ideas, but if there's things that we can do like that, starting sooner rather than later, that would help me a lot. I think that would help a lot of other people.
Yeah, Kalima, this is something we've been talking about a lot, and I'm really grateful that you brought it up. I just want to say this, we are doing irreparable damage by staying shut, and we don't have any other choice. So it's just a terrible decision to have to make. Our teenagers are designed to be social creatures. So this is terrible for teens. It's terrible because they're turning to social media. It's like we were desperately trying to pry them away from screen time, right? And we all know that no matter what side of the political spectrum you stand on, how much damage social media has done in this election. There's no question about the damage that's being done. And now that we're at this training, Monica and I, this pandemic is trauma on a global scale. So, and especially for those of us that know someone that's been infected and died from the virus, it's quite scary. So yes, and I do think there's possible ways, and with Corrine and the back to school group and smaller groups we've been talking about. So one thought that wellness counselors had is, could we use a classroom as an office? Because you can sit 20 feet apart in a classroom and you could wear a face shield and still see people's faces and not have a mask on, but a plastic face shield. That there can be some mirror neuron action that happens where there are wellness counselors that would like to do that, and some of them don't feel safe doing it. So I think the thing would be to not make people do it and to open the possibility for those who wanted to do it. And then your question about, there are students that wellness counselors feel are not safe in their homes. It's not like a CPS report level of safety, but it's like their stress is so extreme and the situation in their family is so painful that if there was a way that those students could say, I am going to school for a study group, or I'm doing school at school, and there was 4 kids in a classroom or something, if we could ever get to that, if we could get to that point, it would, and then those students would be selected, that it would have to be we know that there's a really difficult situation at home, or some people are living 6-7 people in a room. And so to get them, like you said, to get them out of there for a few hours a day would be a true gift. But again, we have to work within the parameters of the union and what the district feels is safe. But it is at the top of my personal list. And then, we'll see. I would say that about half of the wellness counselors would love to be back physically in person. A quarter of the rest are would do it if they feel safe. And then a quarter of them would probably say no due to their own health concerns or little people in their house that need to be taken care of. There's a lot of little people that seem to be happening these days, so, which is cheerful. And I just also want to thank this board for putting this on the agenda and caring, and wanting to hear about our kids. On this level. And I think you all know, and we all know, that learning doesn't happen when the brain is in a state of distress. And so we could talk all we want about closing the achievement gap and all those conversations that we have all the time, and what's equity and what's justice. And if our students are in a state of distress, we have to tend that first. and their families are in a state of distress. And, you know, again, schools can't fix every single problem, but we are asked to be the solution for much of what's going on.
Thank you. Are there any other comments or questions? No? All right. Thank you so much, Ms. Ambrose, for the presentation. It was extremely helpful. It gave me a lot to think about, and I know a lot of others too, so thank you.
Yeah, and I will just close on this. We have to remember that they are also really, really resilient, and that we are too. And I forget that. You know, I forget how resilient I am, how resilient all of you are, and they are profoundly resilient. So what I think we want to do is really start fostering resilience. You know, and they are, and they will be. And when we bring them back, we can really cultivate that. And we can also cultivate them being ambassadors of their own well-being and others' well-being. I really think we have that opportunity. So thank you guys. I'm going to log off because this is hour 12 and a half of Zoom today.
No worries. Thank you. Have a good night.
Bye. Bye, Terry.
Moving on to our next item on the agenda, item 10A2, return to school discussions, turning it over to Ms. Baca.
Good evening, President Salahuddin. Good evening, members of the board. Tonight, I will be sharing the return to school plan. Okay, so 2 weeks ago, we started a conversation on bringing students back to school in a gradual pattern. And what was decided was to, instead of bringing small groups of students in, starting the hybrid plan, to just really focus on the small groups of students to potentially bring back. So the purpose of tonight's meeting is to discuss a plan for the return of small groups of students in spring of 2021. And please keep in mind that this plan was developed with health and safety as the focus. So I'll be talking about the current tier level, the conditions to return to school for small groups, the different types of small groups that will be returning, and then a conversation and feedback from you on how you would like me to proceed with the presentation or the plan. So when I created this presentation, it was about Thursday, I believe, we were in orange tier, San Mateo County was, and it was our 3rd week. And San Francisco was in the 4th week in their yellow tier. And I knew that there were spikes in cases. So I actually asterisked this, knowing that we will probably change in color. And as of today, we are in red for both San Mateo and San Francisco. So we also talked about that certain conditions has to happen first in order for us to allow students on campus. So it was discussed that we would like for San Mateo County to be in yellow tier, and also San Francisco as well. We also need to make sure that we have health and safety protocols in place, and that there is weekly COVID testing for staff. So with all those conditions in mind, I broke it down by different tiers and different weeks. So week 1 to 2, the first group of students that will be returning will be for the individual cases. Oh, so for example, is the one-on-one counseling and for both wellness and school counseling, IEP assessments, and also one-on-one tutoring. I had also spoken to Ms. Ambrose, and that a mental health group with 6 students maximum could also be allowed during this period. So as far as the time and day, this will be after school. So 1:30 to 5 p.m. And that the schools that have asynchronous days can also allow one-on-one assessments, individual or small group students coming back if they have asynchronous days. So we have a couple of campuses that have asynchronous days. And of course, again, this is dependent on the staff choosing to be on campus to serve our student groups. But after the conversation with Ms. Ambrose tonight, I don't know if you want to, reconsider the color for this specific students. I don't know if we, change it to orange instead of yellow, because knowing just the trends and the patterns of where we're going right now, we probably will not be yellow until about February or March. So the second week is weeks 3 and 6, and then there's more groups of students coming. So this is when a small group of students could receive some form of tutoring. So small group tutoring that would prioritize our 12th graders at risk of failing and our Ds and F students in English language arts, ELD, math, and or science. And so those are the courses chosen because as far as I can see, those are the highest Ds and F rates from the last progress report. And also we're thinking of bringing learning pods. So these are a group of students that will receive their first time instruction actually in a small group setting, but they will be logged onto a Zoom, but there will be an adult student in the room, kind of helping them, facilitating the learning and tutoring. So it's not going to be their teachers, but an adult on in the group helping the students with their Zoom meetings. So we're thinking that the student group priority for this one will be our disengaged students. So the students that we just cannot reach through Zoom, that we are hoping that they would be open to be on campus. And also a potential group of students are the ones in the special programs, such as the therapeutic day school, adult transition, mental health enhanced, and so on and so forth. So for this one, again, this would happen actually during the day. So 8:30 to 1:30. And again, they will be receiving their first time instruction logging on to Zoom. And then another group of students that could potentially come back will be mental health groups, but this one, the number of students have increased. And this again is going to happen after school or during asynchronous days. The last group of students, and this is in week 7, this will be for small group activities. And so the small group will be for extracurricular activities, clubs, enrichment, and athletic conditioning. And this would actually happen after school, Monday through Friday. And again, this is all dependent on the staff choosing to be on campus. And actually want to go back really quickly because I just noticed that on the slide, it says week 1 and 2 says 60 to 25%. It's actually 1 to 5% students on campus. And then weeks 3 through 6 will be 6 to 15 students on campus. And then week 7 will be the 16 to 25%. And you might ask, like, how would a principal or administrator know that, that we have 25% student capacity? So with this small group of students coming back, I would assume that we will pre-identify the students that will be on campus. We'll have that list. And so we can kind of assess, do we just ask them to, come here Monday and Wednesday, or Tuesday and Friday, or is it just AM, is it PM? Those will all be dependent on the school site level and the staffing that they have. And I also want to, point out that as far as the staff choosing that, depending on an MOU, we may have some staff members working at other school sites to help with the learning pods or the tutoring. And then some of the considerations is that, we don't want staff to feel pressured, especially the non-tenured one, to feel like they have to volunteer and come back to be on campus. So Ms. Casey and Ms. Basuino will probably develop some kind of process for volunteering so that they don't feel pressured. We also need to make sure that our meeting spaces are well ventilated. We need to hold our meetings in bigger spaces, like what Ms. Ambrose is saying today, that perhaps instead of meeting in a small office with a wellness counselor, we can use a classroom. or even, a cafeteria. So we need to really be creative about that. And another huge consideration, again, is transportation. We don't know how Samtrans will operate. So this is a conversation with Mr. Peppers and his team if we would be able to accommodate the transportation needs of our students. We also need to make sure that we follow the health and safety protocols as outlined by CDC and our county office. So we need to make sure, so I linked it here and it's also attached to the agenda, that we need to make sure that we follow the 4 pillars. And with this plan also, we need to make sure that we have weekly testing for staff members that are on campus on a regular basis. And we have also provided training for COVID through our Target Solutions organization, where they will watch a video and be trained on safety protocols, but also the school site levels and the principals and the administrators will be developing protocols to train what it's like to be on campus. So we are going to have a district-wide training. And then there's going to be also a school site training because each campus is different. So they would have to train, like, where do you exit? Where do you take your temperatures and things like that? So this would have to be decided at the school site level. And with that, our recommendation is to approve a plan for the return to school of small groups of students on the December 1st board meeting. And again, the original plan is yellow tier for both San Mateo and San Francisco for all those group of students. Weekly COVID testing for staff working on site regularly, and of course, following the safety guidelines and protocols set by the county and the state. And our plan is to reevaluate this plan at least every month to see if we need to make any tweaks or changes depending on where we are at the county level and as a district. So with that, questions.
Thank you. So Trustee Garcia asked, how would you explain this? So Trustee Garcia, can you tell me what this is? And while we're waiting for him to type that, does anyone else have a comment or question? Just do the raise hand feature. The whole plan. Okay, so the question for Trustee Garcia is, how will we explain the whole plan to students or parents when it was finalized or if it's finalized?
So I think the first step is I would be working with Ms. Hawkins and also Ms. Presta to develop a communication plan on how we're gonna roll this out to let our parents and families and students know. So once it's approved, then we'll probably do a series of multiple outreach so that everyone knows what the plan is, and the school sites will probably communicate that as well.
Thank you. Next question, Trustee Kleinfeld, comment?
Yes, thank you. I guess it's more of a comment, but I could foresee a lot of people like being angry that only certain groups of people would be coming back to school. I don't know. I just thought of that during the presentation because I know at least, I don't know, I feel like knowing my friends and knowing like the way people have been like about school and about returning, I just can see that people would be like, oh, well, they get to go back. How come I don't get to go back? But yeah, that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Ochipinti?
Yes, thank you, Ms. Baca, for the presentation. It occurs to me, as we're going through these plans and revising and refining them, that one, they're becoming more detailed, so I appreciate that, in percentages in terms of how we roll it out. I guess a couple observations and maybe a couple questions. One, just in hearing what I've heard around the county, we know that some schools around our county have opened up and have actually experienced positive cases recently. even if they have resources to address some of the things. Not to say that we're going to do any better or worse, but just, just so we know that, and knowing that, with the current reports, obviously, and the surge in cases, there's also an increase in testing availability. So we're knowing that we have more data we wish we had, of course, before, but we're going to be seeing more and more data, and hopefully lower cases, and hopefully with transition to our President-elect Biden and VP-elect Kamala Harris, there'll be some kind of actual transition plan to where we have something better and more concrete, and some of this will be more realizable. I think the vaccine will obviously play a role in these narratives and these discussions. And on that note, the weekly testing I think is important. One thing I know that we've heard about from other people around the county is weekly testing is great. It's better than we've had so far, but within a week, somebody's obviously asymptomatic and we don't know that, but they test positive and we get those results back at some point. Contact tracing becomes a factor. And of course, one case, right, could change the game that way. So that's something to consider. Also, my question, I guess, would be on that note, if we're looking at athletics, which is towards the end of this plan, I believe is week 7 in this, are those students being cohorted in advance? And if we're even considering athletics, is in my mind and in discussions I've heard, and I think that, in terms of like healthcare, yes, and a lot of the aspects that we're looking at right now, it's really hard to say when it's going to be safe to pursue athletics. So look at professional athletics, and they haven't gotten ahead of that with all the resources and millions of dollars they've done. So I'm concerned about the health of our athletes and their long-term career hopes if, they happen to contract COVID some point during their teenage years, right? So that would be a concern of mine, obviously, I think, as most people would be. The last thing is, how will we account for, and I know this is, we're matching with San Francisco on our plan, which is different than our counties. How will we account for the changes in what happens in San Francisco? Something in San Francisco, say, rolls back their ability to, be in schools. Will that affect our school? And of course, that's our district's decision, but how has that been factored into this plan, or how might you think that will play out? And of course, just to address the student trustee Kleinfeld is concerned too. I think who gets to come back first, is definitely an issue, right, in terms of equity. It's also an issue of priority and how we think about the safety of our students. So I know that's a lot, but I'll leave that there. Those are my thoughts.
Okay. Those were just thoughts? You didn't want any answers or anything?
Those, my 2 questions would be about, okay, how do we account for discrepancies between San Francisco and San Mateo County, or even just our district, of course, beyond just board decisions, but in terms of our planning. And in terms of athletics, how is that being factored in? Because I'm sure there are a lot of athletes who really want to start training and do conditioning, but that would definitely be a bubble of its own. But if they're being integrated on campus in terms of their other academics, that could cause, would need further planning, right? So, yeah.
So I know as far as the athletics, I believe we have not heard from CIF on what is, what the plan is. So we're going to wait on that guidance. And also, I think ultimately it's up to the board to decide on, whether we want to bring back athletic conditioning and athletics in general. And as far as the discrepancy with San Francisco, it's something that, the board can also decide that if one is yellow and, if San Francisco is in yellow and we are in orange, would we change our mind, or do we still want, both of the colors to remain the same? I think we may need to wait after, the following year and see what happens after the holiday to see and decide to see if we need to make any changes, because it's really hard to predict right now on what's going to happen. But from my perspective, it's, our principals and our administrators need some time to really think and plan that if we were to bring back even small groups of students, we need to make sure that those arrows are aligned and they know where to exit and enter. And so, some sort of guidance would really help us.
Thank you. Trustee Tejada.
I just have a few questions. So, yeah, so if we're looking at the color tier, so would we, let's say we were, how long would we have to be, how long would we have to be in yellow before we consider, is that something we would have to decide? How long would we have to be in yellow and San Francisco be in yellow if that's the decider on how soon we would bring small groups back? I mean, as soon as we hit yellow, or, you know, do we wait a week? Do we wait 3 weeks? I mean, because that's pushing it out, because we wouldn't, when we're saying week 1 to 2, and we're thinking of 1 to 5% of students coming back, that's from the point that we've turned yellow, or when we've decided that we've been yellow enough, long enough, I guess. So Ms. Presta just put in the chat, you know, that's something we would decide. So I don't know if you have thoughts on that. And then also about the learning pods, say for disengaged students, I would think that we would pre-identify these students, right? And then, but how do we bring them back in the learning pods according to grade or classroom? Or I'm trying to think logistically, because they'll all take different classes, and we're going to they're going to be at school all day, and they have a set schedule. How would that work? I mean, that sounds like an immense undertaking, but how would that work?
So it's going to be really, really challenging on how we would set this up. But again, it's a conversation that we need to start having with the principals, and depending really on what the needs are for their students and who these students are, that's how we would plan. So there's, like, you know, the district-wide kind of more generalized plan, and it becomes really more focused when it comes to the school site. And so, yeah, we don't know what really this would look like just yet. It's really hard to predict.
I think that just the general idea of a learning pod in this case, from my understanding, was that we would bring in the kids who haven't been attending their classes and put them on a computer in a room with an adult. So they would still be doing online learning. They would just be doing it from school, so that they had somebody, you know, making them do it.
So an example is, you know, the daycare here at the district office, where we have, you know, multiple children from different districts, and we have an adult that assists them in, you know, with their assignments. But as far as the disengaged students, yes, we have a list of students that we need to reach out. So our school sites are doing a tremendous job in reaching out to the families. And bringing them back is actually one of the, you know, the recommended support system, tiered system to re-engage students.
Right. Great. So so I would imagine, like, with the students who might need, you know, counseling or wellness, or, you know, one-on-one, that we've already started to compile a list of these students. Okay.
Because right now, like, there's nobody, you know, students allowed on campus. And, you know, again, the concern is, you know, our mental health of our students. And, you know, I don't know if we can make exceptions even to just the ones that really, really need it safely, of course.
Right, right. Thank you.
I totally missed, we have a public comment on this. Jay, can you bring Connor in the room?
Yes, give me 1 second.
Sorry, I should have mentioned it before.
No, it's okay.
Hello?
Yes.
Okay, sounds good. All right.
Hi, I'm Connor Uter. I'm a senior at Terra, and I'd first like to say thank you to all you guys for your hard work during this time and rolling out this plan. This plan is exciting for any plan is exciting in terms of getting back on campus. And so I wanted to advocate and suggest that athletics be rolled part of a earlier group, just because athletics is really important to a large population of the school and the student population. And I have been, during this time, I've been fortunate enough to find a baseball team that is playing right now. And we've actually been very safe. We've had no outbreak that we know of. And I can only imagine the kids who play sports who have not been able to find a team or afford a team that is playing right now. And sports is a big part of their lives. So sports are an escape for a lot of people, and people need them to get out of the house, especially right now. And I think that sports can be done safely because one, it's not on campus with the rest of the students. It would be on a separate field. Also, it would there would be many protocols, whether it's cohorts, the masks. I've been playing sports with masks, and it hasn't been a problem throughout this time. So overall, I would really like to see sports advocated for in an earlier section, just because, as we've been talking about mental health, I think it's really important, and it's a really good way to allow kids to get back into kind of a routine, or kind of a how do you say this, a kind of organized schedule in their lives, rather than just sitting around all day. And should it be done safely, it would be really helpful for kids who love sports and just haven't been able to play it. So I'm a tri-sport athlete myself, and sports have been an enormous part of my life, and I know that
30 seconds you have.
Okay. And I know that it's really important to some people, so to a lot of people, and so I just like to advocate for that and hope that can be a little bit earlier on the schedule. That's all. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your comments. Okay, I'm going to go back to the list, unless Ms. Tejada, did you have any more questions? I'm sorry, I jumped in because I just forgot.
No more questions.
Thank you. I'm turning over to Trustee Ian Garrett.
Thank you, Ms. Walker, for putting the presentation together. Again, I am fully supporting that, the well-being and health of our community is most important during this time. And also my concern would be, just because it is like a process of going back to school within a time frame. And so we've already would have started the other half of the semester. So my concern is the teachers, they've already kind of set their curriculum according to at home learning, and then just the transition of being, teaching the students at home, and then now incorporating another factor of, okay, doing the cohorts, and how is that going to be disruptive to this, and the focus for the students and the teacher to kind of keep switching things around. And then what if we go back to at home learn, so again, where we're at now, right? We were, talking about what, we are first going to say we're going to stay the course and not open up, but other schools happen, and now they have to go back. So it's just it's such a disruption, so again, I think the concern is everyone's health and safety, and also consistency, for the students to be able to focus and say, what, this is what we've already started this way, and let's finish it this way, and keep, and not keep changing up the course, and and lose focus. So
I'm sorry if I forgot to mention this, but this is we're still staying in distance learning as far as first time instruction. So this is bringing extra support for the students that need it, either after school or during Wednesdays during asynchronous days. So they will still, our teachers will still be participating in distance learning.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, thank you for the clarification. So I guess it would be for later on if we were to eventually kind of open up and then, you know, like maybe lose consistency. So, but thank you for the clarification again. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Ms. Casey?
One of the concerns that I have, and I think I did mention this earlier, was San Francisco is just one of our borders, but we have other counties around us, and we have staff and families that work in other counties close by. So I'm concerned about us being a little more, a little more concerned about those counties as well, not just San Francisco. I also wanted to mention, which I think I did not mention earlier, that the CFT mentioned and are talking to the legislature, but there's testing going to be made available through California for our staff. And so hopefully that will also help us be able to do testing for our staff. I'm not sure when that's going to roll out, but they've said they have enough tests for each school district to have like one test a month, maybe per person, per staff. I will believe it when I see it, but they're engaged in those conversations right now. So I can send some of this information to you all. I have it online. And I would also like to see I know we've done testing on Jefferson's campus and the district office campus, and hopefully that will help out, but I would really like to see student testing as well. If we're going to bring them back, I feel like it seems fair that they should also have tests available. And then as far as the athletics, you know how I feel about the athletics not driving our school district. I understand the concern. I'm also an athlete, but I've been doing stuff on Zoom with my trainers, and I feel like that is an option so that you can keep together and see each other. And I feel like that's a way to keep yourself conditioned. At this point, that is not one of the highest concerns, although I totally understand the mental health aspect of it. I think that's all for now. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments? Did I miss anybody? No. Okay. So for me, with the mental health discussion, I would be open to looking at another tier for mental health for if they are willing to come on campus for the specific students that Melissa Ambrose was talking about, the ones that are at risk at home or something. So if we could maybe look at a plan for that, that's in a higher tier. I think that would be helpful and something that I would like to think about. And maybe have it be even a different type of plan, that's another level of safety built in with the group size, where they can go, what they can do, because we are talking about a smaller cohort, but that's one thing. The other thing is that all staff are being tested once a week. The state of California, we already passed that part. I don't know really if you need to be tested more than once a week, because it takes a couple of days to get the results. So if you went in like every day, it's still, with the amount of time that it took to get the results, it would still like the gap. So once a week is usually kind of the recommended amount of time. I know at work, they test us once a week at my job for us to go in as well. And that's kind of the standard that I kind of hold, that I'm looking to, is like, because the corporate have a lot of money standard, and then it's once a week. So students can get tested now, and I'm hoping that, you know, teachers will help promote the curative test and having students become in the habit of coming to one of our school sites or the district office, students and their families, to come get tested, because they can get tested for free there. And they can start getting tested now. So we can maybe head off any future infections if we have more help in spreading the word to our students and our families to come get tested now and make that a habit. The curative test is what I forget the name or the kind of the test it is, but it is, I think it's, thank you. That's it, the PCR test. So it's very accurate. It's one of the more accurate tests that they developed. Normally to get a PCR, you had to do the nose and the mouth, and this one they've been able to develop just with a mouth swab, so it's easier to do. And I think the nose swab was keeping people away before, where this is, it's, you know, it's really easy, simple, harmless. I mean, that's the thing that most people say, is that it? Usually after they do it, and I'm like, yes. One of the things that our feeder district, Jefferson Elementary, has done is they have put, like, the standard is San Francisco and San Mateo both have to be in yellow. And then they also had the Daly City has to have so many tests per day for an average amount of time. And so that is kind of where I was already at. But the problem is we need the county to release the numbers for the daily rate for our zip code. So that is what I am going to be advocating for, and really working with other district leaders in the county, education leaders, to put pressure on the county health office to release that data. I think I've said this here previously, but if you look at Alameda County, Alameda County's COVID dashboard compared to ours, it's night and day. I mean, there's tons of information on the Alameda County dashboard. They have it broken out by zip code. They have it broken out by race and ethnicity, not just the infection rate, but they also have the testing rate broken down by race and ethnicity. And they also have each zip code or census tract, I can't remember, broken down by daily infection rate per 1,000. So that, I mean, if I was a school board member in Alameda County, that's hugely helpful and informative information to have in order to make intelligent decisions about what is safe. How do we define it as safe in our area to open up? And so I'm hopeful that we can work through the winter so that we have as close to that information as possible. If they don't want to release it to the public, they could release it to just school districts, so we can have that information, so we can help, you know, help people understand, both our teachers and our parent community, you know, if we are determining it safe, how are we determining it safe, and show evidence that it is safe. The plan as it stands, I'm fine with it as it stands. I'm fine with keeping athletic conditioning where it is. I think, you know, I understand it's hard for me to approve sports, like teams playing a sport together, depending on the type of sport. There are a lot of solitary sports that we may be able to do, but team sports with an infection that's, you know, aerial based, it's kind of hard for me to approve playing sports. But I understand that conditioning and getting ready for when it's possibly safe enough to do that. Who knows what's going to happen with the vaccine? And we're hearing new news every day. So to start the conditioning when it's safe, so if we do get the vaccine early enough and maybe if they move at lightning speed, you know, there may be a possibility and they're in condition to do it. And I think just the mental health boost of being able to do conditioning would mean a lot to a lot of students. So I'm okay with the plan as is. I would like to hear whenever you get the information, Corinne, about the transportation. That is something that if we could put it in a Friday report would be helpful for me. And also to see if there's more advocacy that we need to do with SamTrans or any other outside, just to know if we have enough transportation to get everybody there safely. And because the bus stops for me were just, you know, I know it's going to be small, but even like 10 kids, 20 kids waiting for the bus, that could be a crowd, right? And, you know, how are we going to do that if people are taking SamTrans? How are we going to get people to be safe and socially distanced while they're waiting for the buses to come, and what's happening at drop off? So that's all I had. I am grateful for all the work that's been done on the plans, and I'm looking forward to getting more details. But when it comes to like the safety measures and everything, reading through everything, it's very detailed. So I'm glad that we have moved forward with this step. And so I'm just hoping that we do get to yellow, that, you know, that San Francisco and San Mateo County at some point that we do get to yellow. And in regards to yellow, you have to, so if we're in yellow, so I'm okay with starting yellow week 2 yellow, because that means that this county has been in yellow for 3 weeks, if that makes sense, because you have to be in yellow in order to move from orange to yellow, you have to be in yellow while you're in orange for at least a solid week. So in actuality, the county would have been in yellow for 2 weeks. And then if we start in the next week after that, they would have been in yellow for 3, if that makes sense. So once they reach yellow, if we open the school the following week, I'm okay with that. And
also one thing that I forgot to mention, that if for whatever reason we are in yellow January 4th, let's just say, the plan is to really not start until the 19th of January to help us prepare our school sites.
Ms. Presta.
Thanks. So I just thank you. I just wanted to make sure that clarify. It sounds like there's agreement to move forward with this plan. Of course, there's some clarification that's going to happen about the weeks, but really, I'm hearing that we're good. If you'd like Ms. Baca to bring it back on December 1st with some clarification about mental health, we can do that, but I just wanted to get direction from you.
I'm fine. I give it up to the rest of the board.
I thought it was going to be an action item on December 1st, right? Yeah, correct?
So yeah, that's what I'm clarifying. Do you want to just provide direction and have us move forward, or do you want to have a formal vote on the 1st? I think it's probably good to bring it back for a formal vote.
Yeah, I would prefer to. That's what we usually do. And I also, gosh, for those students who, I don't know how we can write that in there. I mean, okay with being in orange if, you know, we can, if it means helping students in who need more one-on-one counseling, wellness counseling, you know, or IEP assessments, that group during week 1 and 2. I mean, I'd like them to get in sooner sooner, because we don't know when we'd be in yellow.
Yeah, so it sounds like, sorry, it sounds like that would precede week 1 and 2, right? If we're thinking of bringing back some students for mental health counseling in orange.
Yeah, I don't know how everyone else feels about that.
Yeah.
With regards to the size, are we just making sure that it would be a maximum of 6 students if that were to happen?
That's for mental health group would be a maximum of 6 students.
Okay.
And it doesn't have to be a maximum of 6. I mean, if we're in orange, it could be a smaller cohort too. I mean, I think it would be dependent on, you know, if we could get more information, because it seems like the wellness team has some students that they specifically are targeting or looking at who could use some time outside of their home. And so how many of I think maybe depending on the size is like how many of those students are there, and could we use multiple days in a week? We could maybe make it even smaller groups.
Yeah, I think that data would actually would be helpful, at least some of that clarification.
And we could stick that in a Friday report for us to look at whenever she can have that information.
Okay.
Okay, good. Yeah, we can look at it just to keep it really, you know, as safe as possible, because it's also the students and their families, because, you know, 9 times out of 10, we're talking about if you need to get out of your home, sometimes if you're talking about dense housing, and if I don't want anybody to get sick, so, or to the case of spread. So how do we keep everyone as safe as possible for the students that we just want to bring back for just that specific purpose?
So what I wonder is, do we kind of asterisk the first step that for very, very special circumstances, we will allow students in yellow on, you know, let's say the one-on-one and maybe maximum of 3 students in a mental health group.
Do you mean in orange?
I mean, in orange, yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's going to be a, you know, super exception, and that the counselors and administrators will have to really pre-identify the student, that there is a, you know, a need for the student to be on campus.
So that sounds good to me.
Yeah, I think, I mean, we're talking about data, right? So just in terms of what tier are we in, you know, and where the testing's at, you know, I think we'll see. It's still mid-November. We got about 6 weeks. I think before the next meeting or by the next meeting, we'll have a little more data to work with too. But I don't see why not, as long as we, like we're saying, we're pre-identifying students and who they are and understanding where that, where the range is in terms of, you know, how many other students want to be a part of that. So that sounds fine to me.
Trustee Lee, did you already say yes?
I think Ms. Casey had her hand up before I speak.
Yeah, I understand. I see her. I'm just asking you, did you already say yes, or?
I mean, I'm not sure. I'm still unsure about the plan as it is. I'm fine with the plan as it is. I'm not sure about accelerating that smaller group yet. I'm willing to think about it further, but I'm not willing to say yes on going to doing it in orange. Not quite yet. I mean, when you look at the requirement, you know, when you're in yellow, it's less than 1 daily new case per 100,000. I mean, it's about creating a safer environment. So I'm not there yet, but I'm not saying no either. So.
Okay. Trustee Garrett.
You know, I'm kind of with Andy. It's just hard to say. So if we could just, you know, get a little bit more reassurance, and we can just say, go ahead. Okay, we're comfortable with it. So I'm kind of with Trustee Lee right there. So.
Okay. And then, all right. So Ms. Casey.
I did want to mention this earlier, is that, you know, we really do need to get together and move on our MOU for the 2nd semester. So, you know, as it's like having this solid, a little more solid, it doesn't have to be perfect. And then the MOU and kind of matching them up that way. So this will also help, you know, knowing what your direction is coming from will help. And so I guess Doreen and I get to work together on that real soon. So just wanted to mention that before, and I forgot. Thank you.
You're muted.
You're muted.
I'm totally muted. So with the group of kids that we're talking about, again, just to reiterate, this is only with the counselors that Miss Casey, I mean, not Miss Casey, but Miss Ambrose said are willing, that are wanting to come in and are volunteering their time to come in. So that would also be a limitation on the students, because I think we should maybe, in the discussion in the MOU, if it could possibly, and this is just my suggestion, that we could bring back later after we get more information, and maybe the board can make a decision at that time. But maybe we have a discussion with them to see, like, how many students are you comfortable seeing at once? Like, maybe they're only comfortable seeing 1 or 2 at once. Then that would kind of dictate the number, right? Because it would be how many times they would be able to be on campus, how many students are comfortable seeing. So maybe getting some feedback from them as well. Ms. Presta.
Thank you. I just want to sort of echo what you were saying and advocate, I think, with some clarification about how that would look. We might feel safer doing that. I want to advocate for us bringing those students back in one-to-one or very small group, those kids that are in pretty dire situations. I think that there's a pretty high need for some kids. So I'm just going to advocate for that.
And then Luca, your question, we're talking about Orange State, we're talking about the level, the tier, the state has us in tiered levels that mean the amount of COVID-19 spread. So purple being the biggest amount of spread, and then it goes to red, and then orange, and then yellow. And so we're saying for these students that are high risk, instead of waiting till yellow, we would try to bring some students back in orange that are having, like you say, problems at home. Does that answer your question? You just let me know. Any other questions or comments? Is this enough direction for you guys? Okay, great. Thank you. Okay. So, the next item on the agenda, we're moving on to item 11A, administration, superintendent contract, and this is me. So we started with Ms. Presta as, we hired her as a superintendent, but we had the contract only going until the end of the school year. But in working with her through this transition period and getting to see how she works with the community and working with all the board has decided to offer her a 3-year contract now. And she said yes, so she took the rose. And the change to her contract is that we extended her healthcare to include dependents. But other than that, it's a 3-year contract with the same language that was the contract for 1 year. So before I get a motion, just open up to any other questions or comments from our board. Ms. Garrett.
I only want to say welcome, Tony, and thank you for accepting the position. We're really excited to have you to continue the work that Dr. Deloria has laid the foundation for, and we know we're in good hands with the direction that we want the district to go to. So we're really excited to have you kind of keep the train going. So thank you very much.
Trustee Irene Lee.
Indeed, just grateful to have you continue the foundation that Dr. Deloria is leaving us with, and that really looking forward to being able to work with you at this level moving forward over the next 3 years. So welcome to the new role.
Trustee Ochapinti.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we'll say welcome, but you're from here, you've been here. So welcome to this level, you know, in our district. And of course, and this is a time of transition. So I'm glad that we've had this time to build and looking forward to what you can build with Dr. Deloria. the next couple of weeks. This is an exciting time in many ways, and a lot of questions in the air, not only around COVID, obviously, but around education and things in our world. And so I'm excited for what's next, and glad we're at this point.
Trustee Tejada?
Let's do this. Let's go. It's going to be great working together. And Dr. Deloria, you've really set a great foundation for us. But I'm looking forward to it.
So I just want to say, like, we go way back. And that when I was a young whippersnapping board member, I went out and visited with you when you were the superintendent in Brisbane. And I was still really unsure of myself. And we just had a really great day because I spent almost half a day with you because we toured all of the schools. And that's when I was like, I really like her. She really made me feel at ease. And that hasn't changed at all. So I was so excited when you came back to work at our district in the HR department, and truly heard what we were saying when we were talking about equitable hiring, using equity in our hiring practices. And the way you were able to turn around the HR division, and we had been hearing a lot of complaints, especially about getting people hired in a timely manner. And so how you tackle that was fantastic. And then leading and stepping up into the superintendent role, which, it's never an easy role. It's really challenging. There's so many different hats that you have to wear. It's just been great working with you. Especially getting the COVID testing set up, and the way we're able to really push and get that done so fast. It's been great. So I'm very excited to have you here. I know that, those that don't know you already, because you have been here for so long, but those that don't know you already are going to be very excited once they do get to know you. And, let's ready to continue to elevate the district and see what we can do when we're not in the middle of a pandemic. I was really excited for this year and all the stuff we have put in place. And then, so let's see I'm really excited to get to the place where we're not in a pandemic and see what we're capable of when we don't have this cloud overhead. So congratulations and welcome to the district. So with that, can I get a motion to approve?
Move to approve Ms. Presta's contract.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Fantastic. Congratulations. Giving you the floor.
Thank you, President Salahuddin and members of the board. I'm just very proud to continue serving our school district, and I'm really honored to take on the role as superintendent. So thank you.
Thank you. So moving on to future agenda items. Anyone have a future agenda item that they like to add? Mr. Ochapinti.
Yes, thank you, President Salahuddin. Just one, I know this time last year we visited it, and we have recently, and I mentioned earlier, there's a kind of movement around ethnic studies. I think has built a lot. Obviously, we have a lot on our plate everywhere, statewide, across the country, but I think we should be visiting it again soon. Maybe not too soon. There's a lot going on between now and the end of the year, maybe in January or February, whichever works better. But
we have our equity committee meeting tomorrow with Nicole and everything. So I think there's a great question to bring up to Nicole about when do we fit all this stuff in, and with all the policy stuff, and when do we start working on this so we're successful? So I would say, let's talk about it on Saturday, because to get information from her and how she's seen other districts put it in. I think having her input would be great. Is that okay with you?
I think it's a great suggestion. I do think too, we should just agendize it, because we're gonna have to talk about it at some point in a public meeting as a general meeting this year. I mean, we're talking about planning last year, and then of course COVID and everything the last 6, 8 months, right? So looking at what month we should be talking about it, maybe January or February, but we definitely should agendize it. So I am looking forward to talking about it Saturday. Maybe we can bring it up at the next board meeting.
Yeah, let's talk about it on Saturday and see what the feedback is on Saturday and then bring it back.
Sure.
If that's okay with everybody else. Yeah, but I think that to me, there is no equity if we don't have ethnic studies. Like it's hand in hand. Okay. So it should definitely be a part. Ethnic studies should be the head of the equity plan that we put together. It should start with ethnic studies. We are adjourning and we are not adjourning in honor of anyone. And so that's nice that everyone is safe and sound. I would like to say to everyone, I hope we all have a restful Thanksgiving. Looking at our executive cabinet and our superintendents, please take some time off. Please take some time off. Don't work. I'm gonna say it one more time. I'm looking at you, Corinne and Tina.
That's funny.
Please take a break, because we're talking about mental health and wellness. And I know we spend a lot of time talking about teachers, but you are one of the groups that I really think and worry about a lot. And I don't want you guys to burn out, and your mental health and that your overall health is extremely important to me in and outside of the district. So please take some time. There's always, the state is always throwing paper at us. There's always stuff to do. It is never going to go away, but the time with your family is fleeting. So thank you all for that you do. I'm thankful and grateful for every single one of you. And so with that, if I can get a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Have a good Thanksgiving.
Happy
Bye, everybody.
Thanksgiving.
Thanks. Good night.